welcome into the Whatcom County Football Podcast. It's episode 44. I'm your host, Ryland Spencer from CascadiaPreps.com. Along with me, as always, Tyler Anderson from Whatcom Preps, and this week's special guest, head coach Jay Dodd, a 1996 Blaine Borderite legend, and now the head coach at Blaine. Coach, how's it going?
It's going good. You know, we're all kind of dealing with this world right now, but you know, it is the fall, and we sure wish we were playing ball right now, but we're getting ready for spring. I tell you what, just a little extended off season to kind of lift more weights and you know, kind of build more relationships. So but fall's been going good.
It's Friday night. Do you know who you would have been playing right now?
You know, I knew you were going to ask that question, to be perfectly honest with you. I know we'd be in our 1A schedule right now, and I try not to bring it up. I try not to think about it every Friday night. I do know we were going to play Zilla the first Saturday of September over at Central. And I do know that, you know, we had came down from a 2A to a 1A school, and I know, gosh, we were so dang excited about, you know, this fall. I try not to drive myself too crazy by knowing that we were going to play Meridian or Nooksack or Baker or LC. And so I try not to drive myself nuts by knowing exactly who our opponent was. I just trying to, you know, do what we're doing every week, and we're working on we get to work with our team now. So, you know, just trying to focus on that and not drive myself too crazy every Friday night.
What does a Friday night look like you for right now? I mean, obviously no football. So what does it look like in the Dodd household?
Well, I mean, I don't know if you can tell or not, but I'm in my garage. Okay, so I'm in my garage, and we roll with a 2, 8, and 9-year-old, and cousins over 2. So I got 4 kids that are inside under the age of 10. Thus, that's why I'm in the garage, because it's pretty loud in there. But you know, we made our garage in the off season into a coach's office at the same time. So, you know, we've made some videos here on our whiteboard of you know, defensive position groups, and now we're rolling with offensive position groups this fall. Defense was the spring, and now it's offense in the fall. Yeah, it's kind of we're just rolling with a loud, crazy household right now with a lot of kids that you know, are just having fun, but we're having a good time.
I mentioned 1996 Blaine Borderite legend, if you will. What's it like coaching at your alma mater?
To be honest with you, it was something that was never planned. I mean, this was never, ever something that I had wanted to do growing up as a kid or even as an adult. I'd be perfectly honest with you. You know, when I graduated from Blaine High School, I was leaving town and I was never coming back. You know, so I went away to college for football and to play football, and that led into wanting to become a teacher, and that led into wanting to coach. And I made it at Central Washington University, and I stopped playing ball, you know, a little too early due to injury, and so I started to become a teacher. And when I started to become a teacher, they put me into some class named Randy Afalter, and he was the head coach at Ellensburg High School at the time, and so I'm observing his class, and then he just, you know, randomly said, "Hey, you know, I know your story. Would you mind coaching football with us this fall?" And so at that moment, I fell in love with it, and you know, did it with him for 2 years. So I was finishing up my teaching degree, and then we were in the same league as Prosser, and then that led me to a teaching job at Prosser, my first year teaching job at Prosser, and then that's when I got to share a coach's office with Tom Moore, and we just had a great relationship, and I just got to learn, you know, high school football coaching 101, small town high school football coaching 101. Like I say, I taught PE, he taught PE, so we literally shared, even off season, 8-9 hour days together, just hanging out, just talking. And the impact that he had on young people, and young boys in particular, obviously, and helping them become men. I just couldn't wait to do it. I wanted to be the head coach, not the assistant coach. And so I started applying for jobs after my 3rd year there, and just ended up coming back to Blaine. Blaine had an opening. And so I threw my name in the hat and got it. Wasn't the first choice, quite frankly, at Blaine. But that didn't bother me one bit. Just saw the impact that Tom had on young people, and just couldn't wait to do that. Couldn't wait to be a part of young people's lives and to help young boys become men. And so just was really excited for the opportunity to come to Blaine and just never left, and I have family here, and now we're raising our kids here. So it's been a blessing. We're so fortunate to be here. We're so fortunate to be a part of our community. It's a great community, as Tyler knows. We're so blessed to be here. But it was never really something like as a kid or a player, as a high school, I'd like to come back to your alma mater and be the head coach. That was never really a thought in my mind. And all of a sudden this job came up when I'm 28 years old, and I was like, well, yeah, I'm going to throw my name in that hat. I've already thrown my name into that hat and that hat and that hat. And I want to become a head coach to impact kids. And so it was just kind of a random thing, but it all worked out.
Hey, Coach, you talked about your playing days kind of ending prematurely because of an injury. You've had quite the career with your knee. How's your knee feeling right now?
It actually is feeling the best it's felt in probably a decade.
Yeah.
When COVID hit, just like a lot of people, you tend to gain 10 or 15 pounds, right? And I always try to keep my weight down because I got two bad knees, and I'm 43 years old and I'm limping around like I'm 83 years old. And, I gained some weight, and I tell you, about late July, I could barely walk. And
wow.
My right one's just, swollen like a balloon. And so finally, and I've been to an orthopedic doctor many times. And last time I went to one was about 4 years ago. And every time I go to one, they just say, toughen up and keep your weight down. You have arthritis. There's nothing we can do for you. And so I went back again, and this time the doctor said, hey, I can kind of give you a steroid shot, maybe numb it up a little bit. And sure enough, I got one about a month ago, and I feel great. So to be honest with you, knees are great. I'm not doing squats, but I mean,
yeah,
I'm able to stay on my feet all day, and anyway, feel great. So
awesome.
Yeah,
that's good. Coach, going back to your playing days, luckily I was able to, back in the day, we actually played against each other, which is pretty cool. I don't know if playing against each other is the right term, since you were doing all the work and I was kicking a ball, but back, I remember hearing about you. You were well known around the county, a 3-year starter on both sides of the line. But your senior year was pretty magical. If you go back between the state championship year and now, that's the league championship year, that fall of 1995. What are your best memories about that year?
We had some close games. We didn't win by 40 plus points every ball game. But if I had to pick one out, it would probably be, we had a close win over Meridian, a close win over Baker, a close win over Linden Christian, all super close. But the first closest game was Meridian, and it was just a barn burner. We won 6-0 in overtime, went for it on fourth and about an inch. And Coach Thayer was our quarterback, and he, great memory. He dove over me. I was playing right guard, and there's just, 22 bodies all in a pile, and some old man puts his arms in the air, but your face is in mud. And so somebody's screaming, and you don't know if it's for Blaine or for Meridian, but
right.
You don't know for like 2 or 3 minutes, and all of a sudden the black team's running around the field. So you're like, oh, we won. Oh, wow, right. This is great. Okay. So that would probably be one of the funnest moments. But, like I say, we had a lot of other fun moments too that year too with Baker and Linden Christian. But, we were back in the old school Whatcom County League, but it was a lot of fun that year for sure.
Yeah. Coach, you played at Walla Walla Community College, junior college football, not around anymore. They don't have it. What was it like playing junior college football back then? We see, now we see Last Chance U. I imagine it's maybe a little different back then.
Well, to be honest, it was very similar because, and granted it was a long, long time ago, But, we're over at Walla Walla Community College, and we're the only community college in the state of Washington, Oregon, Idaho. I mean, there's nothing around. And so, we got to go down to California for road games, and Utah. We play JV Wazoo, we play JV Idaho. So our schedule is kind of like all over the place. You get on a bus and you don't stop for 24, 26 hours before you get to your destination. So, and also too, in Walla Walla, you're right next to the penitentiary. So a lot of people that maybe were teammates came right out of the penitentiary. So when you say last chance you, and you see, maybe a lot of guys that are on their last chance, I remember showing up to Walla Walla Community College, just kind of scratching my head thinking, where in the heck am I? Where are these teammates coming from? This guy's 22, this guy's 26. Like, okay, he just came out of the penitentiary. Oh, okay, he's my teammate now. And obviously a lot of kids that are on our team, we had a lot of talent. We had a lot of talent here in the state of Washington, as you guys know. And any kid that had Division I talent, but didn't have Division I grades ended up at Walla Walla Community College. So we had our team was very unique, so many ways, but, and our team had so much talent, as well. But it was a fun group to be a part of, and still friends with so many of those players today. Just there's a group of 5 or 6 of us from that team that are still really good friends today. So had so much fun at Walla Walla Community College.
After Walla Walla, you made your way to Central Washington University. Was Campus Burger around back then?
Campus Parker?
Campus Burger. Campus Utotem?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now
yeah,
tell me this. If you had your choice between one burger, you going Campus Utotem or you going Boomers in Bellingham?
Oh, Utotem.
Absolutely. I think it's the best burger east of the mountains.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We, and to get kind of an Ellensburg feel, we tend to take our kids to Central Washington football camp, and on the way out of town, it's Campus Utotem, just so they can say they've been there, just so they can just sit there after a 4 days of camp and just get just a greasy burger where it's dripping out the bottom, and fries on the side. You're right. It's an experience that I felt so fondly about that I wanted to give to high school kids nowadays. So you're right on.
Almost any time I go east for a high school football game, unless there's a place in the town I'm going to that everybody tells me I have to go, I stop at campus. I just do. It's the best.
Yeah, you have to.
That's awesome. Hey, Coach, is this about a good time now, Ryland, for a little game with Coach Dodd?
Do it.
All right. So, Coach, you got to put on your thinking cap now. This will be your 15th year as the head coach at Blaine.
Okay.
And you've coached 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've coached 6 different running backs that have gained over 1,000 yards in a season. Now, obviously, you've had guys that have done it multiple times. But how many of them can you name? How many start rattling off the names. We'll see what we can get here.
Well, I'm going to start early then and just kind of go up here. You got Casey McCabe.
Yeah.
2008. Statham followed that up in 2009.
Yep.
And then we went right to Gabato in 11, 12, and 13, which then handed it off to Muter.
Yep.
14, which handed it right off to Fritch.
Right.
In 15, 16, which then we kind of had a little break there in the action.
Yeah.
And then we're looking at Caradad there.
Yeah.
Tail.
So that's
correct?
That's really close.
5 and 6.
That's really close. I had Caradad for 960 yards in only 8 games.
Okay.
But Ben Bonson in 07 went for over 1,000 yards.
Him and McCabe comboed up in 07. You're right. Bonson was a little over 1,000, and McCabe was probably around 700 or 800 that year too.
Right.
And then we had a decent team, lost to Fife in the first round.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right.
So you rattled through those pretty good, Coach. I'm impressed.
Well, if Boston's listening, which I hope he is, I'm gonna, we lost to Fife that year because he spiked the ball at Muscle White's feet We ran a quick pitch to the right, and we were going to tie the score in the late in the third in a rain game. And he just picked up the ball and looked right at Larry, and Larry was on the Fife sideline, and Larry said he was out of bounds, and Ben didn't agree with him. So Ben threw the ball at his feet, and it was, instead of 4th and an inch, it was 4th and 15 yards in an inch. And so thanks for that, Ben. You want to relive 07 again. But.
Yeah. Well, Coach, you rattled off those names, obviously some big names there, and everyone knows about Mario Gabato, but I want to just talk about Riley Fritch for a second, because getting to see him up close, and he did something that only 3 other players in Whatcom County history have ever done. And that's being named all-league first team 3 years in a row at running back. Dudley Nightingale in the 70s, John Locker in the late 70s and early 80s, and then Dave Longoria in the late 80s, early 90s. So it had been a long time. What made him so special and such a durable back?
It's just his determination. I mean, he had such, or has, he still has it. He has such a drive in him, and it's just, whether it be Riley or whether, instilled by other people into Riley, but he just has it. And when he wants something, he gets it. And, when he was a sophomore, it wasn't given to him. It was, hey, you're going to be in competition with 3 other guys. And he just said, okay, no problem. Yeah. And it was very clear after a game or two that he was the guy. And so that just, he just kept rolling through it his sophomore year, and got the accolade of all conference at the end of it. But his junior year, a little bit was on his plate. Right. We had transitioned now to a new quarterback, and Jalen was the same class, but now we had a new starting quarterback, but in a lot of turnover in the offensive line as well. And so he took it more upon himself just to, I got to work with the new O-line. I got to work with the new quarterback. That's fine. Give it to me. Give it to me more, and give it to me some more. And let's, we'll go inside, we'll go outside, we'll run this, we'll run that. And he just had that, that instinct of I'm going to do whatever it takes for us to be successful. And, and that, if it takes me carrying the ball 25, 30 plus times, I'm in for that. And so, we tried to protect him by not playing defense and just letting him, going over the bench and sitting down and getting water. But it was just a Riley Fritch thing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he's great.
Yep.
What do you think, Tyler? 5 names?
Yeah, I think this is a good time for it.
All right, Coach, I'm going to give you 5 names. Each name, we just need a 5 or 10 second answer, kind of whatever is the first thing that comes to mind when I say that name to you, okay?
You got it.
Jim Racer.
Coach Race, fantastic football coach, great motivator. But I was some words that I won't use on this. He tended to use some words with me as a player that I won't repeat on this, but fantastic human being. Love Coach Racer.
Danny Burden.
Great person. One of the best middle linebackers I've ever been around. Great teammate. We had a great time. We tend to be on the same side of the line for 3 years in a row, so we had a good time together.
Dave Fakema.
One of the best guys around, best human beings. Helped me be a man, helped me be a father. One of the best O-line coaches around too. I mean, we just spent last weekend together. We're still great friends and just a great human being.
Tom Moore.
Taught me everything. Taught me everything about being a coach, a husband, a father. He's a fantastic football coach. Obviously, as everybody knows, the expectation level for everybody around him is very high.
Okay, last one, and a name that we're going to kind of parlay this into talking more about him, Mario Gabato.
Very similar to Riley in what I just kind of talked about, but he just a special border right. He just will never, ever be denied on what he wants he loved football. He loved high school football. He loved Blaine High School. He loved being a border right. And he just would do whatever it takes every day of the week.
I think might have even been the first time I ever saw Blaine play a football game was at CenturyLink or Quest Field, whichever one it was at the time. And I never missed a game in the Emerald City kickoff, but I was there. I was excited because I wanted to see your big tight end. I believe his name was it Andrew Price?
Yeah, Andrew Price.
Yeah, I was excited. I wanted to see him. I've heard a lot about him. I want to see him up close. And within about, I don't know, a quarter, all of a sudden I was going, who the heck is this Gabato kid? I mean, what was it like coaching a guy like that?
Well, to kind of go back to that game, we're so excited to play at CenturyLink, and we leave early on in the morning, and we're going down to the clinic. And I remember we had Parker Wallace was our starting quarterback, and he happened to be sitting next to me and, close by me on the bus. And I'm just so excited to be on this bus ride. And I look around and, hey, Parker, what play do you want to run on the first play, man? I mean, your first year, you want to go vertical? We should go vertical. Let's go vertical on the first play. Yeah, let's just throw a bomb. Let's just throw it. And so here's this kid. We're asking him to throw a bomb on the first play. And we start to do a lot of cute things in the first quarter. We should have been giving it to Mario Gabato since day one. Nothing against Parker Wallace. Great human being, great kid. But we started doing too cute of things there in the first quarter of that game. And then finally we're like, hey, let's just turn around and hand it to this guy, and we got a great offensive line. Let's just run counter literally every other play. And we did. And he ended up with, I don't know, so many yards, so many touchdowns. But we did end up losing that football game because this guy had too long of a bus ride on the way there and was just too excited and tried to do too cute things on the way to the game. But, and it all started, quite frankly, when he was in middle school. I saw it in middle school games and even youth games where just his love of the sport of football and his determination and his effort just really shined through. It really stood out. And I can remember when he was a freshman, we decided to take him to Ferndale, our third game of the year. And, all of a sudden we were just like, hey, we should just throw him the kickoff team today. Here's this little freshman, weighs literally about 110 pounds. We should throw him on the kickoff team today. And we did on the second kickoff, and all of a sudden he's just literally outrunning everybody, out sprinting everybody, and he makes the tackle inside the 15, and we're like, holy Toledo, let's do that again. Let's put him in there a little bit more. And honestly, he was the best special teams player his freshman year, covering kicks, covering punts that maybe has ever been around. And we never got to do that with him again because it was, he was playing so many other roles for us. But, his sophomore year was great. And then, that junior year was at the Clink. That was the first game. And then that just led into, well, we just gave him the ball like 30 times in the last 3 quarters of this game at CenturyLink. The next game, well, let's go ahead and do that again. And in the next game, that quarterback that I was referring to got injured. And we had a freshman quarterback coming in named Nathan Cramey. And so here's this freshman quarterback, this big 2A, /3A schedule that we're facing here for the next 8 or 9 weeks. Well, let's turn around and give it to 44 for a while. And gosh knows how many yards later, 2,500 plus and 30 plus touchdowns and all this kind of stuff that went along with it. But he would give any stat away. He'd get every touchdown away for a win. And he would give it. He doesn't care about that. He literally did not care about any stat, any yard, any touchdown. All he cared about was winning. And it was in that day and age, even back then too, it was just so refreshing to see that kind of person, and that unselfishness that he had. And it was always, my O-line's great. My O-line does a good job. And he was always, giving them accolades, and he would do it all week long too. He would treat them, better than he thought he was himself. So he was just a great teammate that way. Great person to coach.
We got to talk about one game specifically. We've talked about it on our podcast in the past. And actually Mario was the, what would it be, Tyler? Intro? He did the intro for us for the all-decade team for Blaine. And we talked about it on that podcast about his final game. We got to know more about it. Tyler, throw the stats out there for that final game.
Yeah, 57 carries for 480 yards against Cedar Park Christian in a 50-20 win.
And was this, and this was he's the only guy that touched the ball, right?
Well, the box score looked awfully funny. Yeah, it was. It said it was rushing : Gabato 57-480, passing none, receiving none, and that was it. And it was quite a performance.
Was that planned that way, or did it just happen?
That was planned. It was planned, and just to kind of give you the reason why it was planned, we had just gotten done with. We played a Nooksack on a Thursday. We played a Kansas City tiebreaker on a Saturday, and then we played Meridian in a half on Tuesday. And when we finally got to that Meridian half on a Tuesday, it was a district playoff situation that was just kind of made up within the last 3 or 4 weeks of us, getting to that Tuesday. And it was Blaine, Meridian, and Coopville. And so Coopville, Meridian played the first half, and we played the winner in the second half. And so we played Meridian, and we end up losing 15-14, where we're up 8-7, and we go score, and we're going for 2 every play all season long. And so we score our second touchdown to go up 14-7, but we miss the 2-point conversion. And this is probably with about 2.5 minutes left. We get a bad kickoff, in which they return it to about the 50-yard line. So now all of a sudden it's 14-7, and they got the ball at the 50. Meridian does, and they go down and they score on a double pass that takes the refs about 2 minutes to decide if it's a touchdown or incomplete. But one guy puts his hands in the air, and Meridian goes for 2. And they run a great 2-point play. They bunch up their kids on the left, and just gets by a fingernail of a border right, and they break our hearts. Is what I'm trying to say. Is they break our hearts on a Tuesday night, and tears in the locker room. It's a very emotional night. And then the next morning, be honest with you, we're all at school, and then all of a sudden, one of our administrators comes in at lunch and says, "You got to play a ball game this weekend, a meaningless non-league game." And it was like, no, our season ended last night. We're not playing this game. Well, I don't think we should. We're pretty spent. And I'd like you to try. Okay, well, so we had a meeting after school, and we're to be honest with you, about ready to start collecting gear and worrying about an awards banquet, but we're still pretty in shock from the night before. And so I said, guys, we're going to play this game on Friday. And I'll tell you, well, they want us to play it on Saturday, but you guys want to play it on Friday or Saturday? And they said, well, let's play it on Friday just to get it over with. And I said, okay, guys, what, how do we want to do this? And some kid is literally in the back, and I think his name is Brett Allen. I think Brett was in the back with his phone, and he was like, hey, coach, Mario's like 450 yards away from the all-time record. We should play for that. Okay. Yeah. And all the guys got all excited. So they the line got excited, and everybody got excited about, something to play for Friday night. Right. So all of a sudden we had something to play for. And so we didn't really practice all that much that week, but that's ended up that's what happened that night. And that's why, we kind of had, we had something kind of a hearts break a little bit, and it was just, we kind of were forced to do something, and we needed some motivation to go and do it. And by gosh, that was a lot of motivation to go and do it, was to get him a record, but also too, just to kind of, for our linemen, to also be a part of that record. And so, it was, something to play for.
That's awesome. Like, that is really, really cool.
Yeah. So, Coach, obviously you've had some great running backs and some great offensive lines. You were a great offensive lineman. Coach Fackham is such a great offensive line coach. But Blaine has thrown the ball a lot in the past as well. The only team in Whatcom County history to have 2 receivers go over 1,000 yards in the same season was your 2010 team. Of course, that was when Mario was a sophomore. But you had Todd Bird and Andrew Miller and Brett's older brother, Sean, throwing the ball around. Tell us about kind of how that was. You were known for running the ball, but that you just kind of played to your strengths a little bit.
We did, like that year we had, the year before in 2009, we kind of had a senior dominated offensive line and a senior running back. So when we come back to town the next year, again, we're working with a new line, and Mario's a sophomore. And I'll be honest, Mario, he broke his foot as a freshman, which in 2009, which quite frankly killed our special teams. Like I was telling you about earlier, he was covering kickoffs like none other, and punts and everything else. But he ends up breaking a bone in his ankle. So then, he doesn't have a ton of off-season time. And so he decides to sprint track his freshman year. Never ran track a day in his life, but wants to get faster to become a better player. Well, that kid worked so hard on the track team, and Coach Racer was the sprint coach. So you take a kid that, doesn't know how to quit, and you take Coach Racer, who's going to yell at you every day.
Right.
And so Mario kept throwing up after every sprint workout. And so that poor kid was about 115 pounds as our sophomore tailback. And so, playing again in kind of the schedule that we're going against, we leaned on Sean Allen a lot, and we leaned on Todd Bird a lot. Todd Bird was a returning starter. He was at wideout, and Andrew Miller was a burner on the outside. And like you mentioned earlier, Andrew Price was our tight end at the same time too. So, those are three really good targets that we had, and Sean couldn't deliver the ball. Yeah. And something else that we learned too, we were messing around at camp with some shotgun, and all of a sudden Sean's his three-step drop out of the gun looked a lot cleaner and better than under center. So that's when we start to transition a little bit into a shotgun team, and just how it kind of opens up the pocket a little bit, and just allows the quarterback to see more and have more space, and so but I mean, you can't argue with Todd Bird. I mean, one of the best players of all time, and just a grinder and a winner. And, he was the guy you wanted to get the ball to. So that's one of the reasons why we threw it a lot too that year.
Yeah. Coach, in more of the recent past, a couple of players that I've really loved watching are the Rodriguez brothers. Cruz and Gavino. Those guys really got after it, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I've been going back and watching film and keeping defensive stats. Of course, everyone has to do something during COVID shutdown, so that's what I've been doing. And their numbers just jump out off the page. They're so similar, especially when you watch both of them as sophomore or as seniors, like just side by side. You can't tell them apart. What was the driving force for those guys? They looked so dominant, whether it's at defensive end, inside linebacker, whatever they were doing. They were just so fun to watch.
Yeah, both of them. You hit it on the head. They were, early in their career where, maybe they weren't the Mike backer or middle backer yet, just rushing the edge. They just had great body lean, great quickness off the ball, in which you could put them in a 5 and they could just get around the edge just like that and beat, kind of a high school offensive tackle around the edge. So good at that. You mentioned Gavino. He did it for both the sophomore and junior year. We didn't get Cruiser till he was a junior. So,
right.
But he did that his junior year. And then, both of them, we were just like, it's hard to make plays on both sides of the ball playing defensive end. And so let's get them in a 2-point. Let's put them over the guard or even over the center and see if they can't maybe make both plays on both sides of the ball. And sure enough, they can. So both of them became, Cruz not as much as Gavino at Mike Backer his senior year.
Right.
But, they could both make plays on both sides of the center. And then when we get to third down, rush the passer.
Right.
We say, hey, now go play defensive end. Let's pick that tackle we want to pick on, and let's put our best player against that guy and rush the edge. So both those kids, just tremendous kids, tremendous people. Can't say enough to them about things that they've overcame and are accomplishing. But tremendous defensive players and fun to coach because they just had a motor. When you watch defense, you probably watch defense and you stat those things. You'd probably just see some guys that just don't stop and just have a knack for the ball, a knack for contact, and just a knack for, some of those games last year that Gavino had. I mean, you probably know more than I do how many 15-plus tackle games he had last 9-game season. Holy smokes! I mean, it's mind-boggling to see that many tackles by one person in one Friday night, but he did it. So yeah. Amazing.
Coach, just before the shutdown, the Corona shutdown, I went up and I saw the New York Islanders play the Vancouver Canucks, and we went through the Blaine crossing. And as we did, I looked to the left, and I see this big steel structure. And I found out you guys also are getting new turf. Lots of big things going on there at Blaine right now, huh?
Huge. Turf's done. We just got to use it last week. It was ready for the start of our season now. So, yeah, we were fortunate enough to get a lot of new things. So, we have a big brand new stadium, so big and so beautiful that it's designed for people not to walk the track anymore. So it's all enclosed, and it's amazing. And then we followed that up with some field turf, and we're so fortunate enough too that we were making some field turf decisions this past fall, and we got a new superintendent in town, and he thought, let's put some color on it. Let's put some school color on it. And so, we were obviously really excited about that decision. And so, our end zones are black. They say Blaine in one end zone with white and orange trim, and the other end zone is border-rights. And we have a Peace Arch logo up to 50. And we have, it's kind of like the University of Oregon where you alternate, dark green, light green, dark green, light green every 5 yards. And even the soccer lines are painted in orange, and our sidelines are black. And so it's just a lot of school colors. And it's just, I go there every day. And in fact, I went there after school today just to literally just hang out. It's so cool to be there. And it's really going to be a big thing for our community for a long, long time. And so we're so excited about it. And in our community, we're so thankful for our community for helping us build it. It's
thank you.
Really
thank
cool
you,
thing.
Tyler. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Hey, as long as I can go there and just kick a few field goals someday.
I tell you, when we can get you on there, you are just going to smile ear to ear, and it's really cool.
Nice.
Tyler, this might actually help with footing and, no thicker grass. You might be able to get your 42 and 42 or whatever it is you're going for.
I don't know. I made my 40-yarder when I turned 40, and I tried my 41-yarder over at Seaholm High School when I turned 41, and I couldn't get it there. So I might need this turf field to really, really help me out, and maybe on a nice windy day. And I might need Blaine's defense on the other side to give me that extra bone. No, I'm just kidding, Jay.
Well, Ryland, I got a quick Tyler story here about he can make field goals in the mud.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta tell a quick Tyler story here if you guys don't mind. But Tyler and I are playing against each other, and it's Mount Baker versus Blaine, and we're going into overtime here, and Baker has the first possession, and we stop him on third down. We get a big sack, and all of a sudden we're forcing them into a field goal situation, and Tyler Anderson puts it through the pipes. And so all of a sudden Mount Baker, I believe, is up. Was it 10-7 at that time?
Yeah, it was 10-7 at that time.
Okay, so 10-7 is your score. And then, here come the border-rights, and it's fourth down for us too. And we decide to go for it. And Travis Thayer hits Tony Harriman on a little play action out route there, and we win 13-10. So Tyler had a game-winning field goal at Blaine High School in the mud, in the wind, in the rain, you name it. It was there. But I blame your defense, Tyler. I mean,
yeah.
you got to get a stop. I don't know if you threw him under the bus in the locker room or not. But maybe,
no, that was such a sloppy game.
I was there.
That was such a sloppy game, Coach. That had so many turnovers on both sides, but yeah, that was my shining moment taken away. And I
remember trying to block it. I was probably in the A gap or B gap, and phone book hops. I didn't, you didn't have to clear very much. I had my hand in the air, but you didn't have to clear much. But
that's awesome.
It was a muddy night that night. I know that.
Yeah, that's right.
Tyler, what was the name? So, Coach, I don't know if you watched, or I guess you wouldn't have been able to watch. I don't know if you heard our All Decade podcast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So at the end, we do the All Decade food spot. And Tyler, what was the place you picked? It was the steak place.
Yeah. It was the Neiman Steakhouse in Blaine. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, Coach, is that would you have picked that place, or was Tyler wrong?
In Blaine?
Yes,
Yeah.
in Blaine.
Well, as Tyler knows, we're it's single digits to choose from here. I mean,
Right.
it's not, we're not. Yeah, absolutely. I'd go Neiman's Steakhouse for sure.
Yeah.
I honestly, I would. It's a good slab of meat, whatever you order.
Although I did over the summer, I was walking my dog down the street and I saw you having dinner with your wife at the Mexican restaurant. So you remember
When
that?
we first came out phase 2. That was when we were all
Yeah.
excited to like,
That's
oh
right.
my God, we can go
That's
out
right.
to eat.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, there's Coach, and I'm waving in the inner. You're waving outside. So so there are a few places to eat, but yeah.
Yeah.
True.
But you got to hit up the oyster place downtown too. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Coach, what are the two pictures above your head there? What are those two?
That's Husky Stadium and Martin Stadium up there.
That's what I thought it was.
So we started to, with this brand new stadium that we got, we also kind of have a team room and part of that, and part of it was going to be to kind of, kind of decorate it a little bit. So my wife and I started to buy these and frame these, in the last year or 2 or 3, kind of preparing for to kind of make this a great, facility for us. So yeah, so we got a Martin and a Husky, and we're going to put Eastern and a Central, and then an old Blaine Stadium, like maybe our last game, which we got a nice picture taken from Janelle Courtlever, and then we were maybe going to take the first night of the new stadium. Yeah, kind of have 2 board right stadiums, but then also some colleges here in our state, and then as COVID hits and we're all shut down here in April and May, and my wife looks at me and she's, we're kind of rearranging our garage here to kind of do some coaching or some teaching here, from best we can. And we're looking for random things to put on our garage walls of all things. Right. And she's like, hey, check under the bed. We have all those, those posters that we framed throughout the years. So anyway, that's all that is. And so I'm a Husky though. Don't get me wrong. Not a cougar. I'm a dog.
I'm a Nebraska guy, and I don't have a picture like that. I've got a Tom Osborne and Brooks Behringer picture, but that's about all I got. But Tyler, do you got anything else?
I was just there last weekend, Ryland. I was just
in Nebraska.
Yeah. I flew into Omaha, and I didn't make it to Lincoln. I wanted to so bad because of the old school Dog Nebraska rivalry in the early 90s when it was all dogs back then. But anyway, I definitely wanted to go to Lincoln and check out the stadium and see it, but didn't get a chance to. But I do know, I stayed in Omaha long enough to know that it is a very, very Nebraska heavy fan base and football crazy state. That was pretty cool to be a part of first.
I'll give you a quick story here, Coach. Tony Davis, the head coach at Tahoma High School, he played at Missouri, and the first time I ever interviewed him, I asked him, I said, Coach, I'm a lifelong Nebraska guy. I just got to ask you, what was it like playing in Lincoln? And his answer was short and sweet. He goes, it's the most red I've ever seen in one place. And that was all he said. And then it was like, I sat there and waited for him to say more, and he just goes, what else you got? Oh, okay. That's all you want to say, huh, Coach? But Tyler, you got anything else?
Well, I mean, I think we should probably bring up this year's team.
Yeah.
Coach, you're moving to 1A, so what kind of new things does that have? You have a 3-year starting quarterback. How do you look at this year's squad right now?
We're really excited. Like you say, 3-year starting quarterback, and he's ginormous right now. He's bigger, he's stronger. I mean, who isn't after 8 months of COVID? But he's just a great kid. He's applying for Air Force and West Point at this point in time. But our O-line's big and strong. We have, I think, a good plethora of backs to maybe replace Oscar. But our skill guys are very, very talented, and we were just able to throw the ball around this week for the first time out on the turf. It really is different. I mean, I'll be honest, it's really different to actually have to go out on this field turf and let guys kind of, they just run that much faster, and you're able to give landmarks. Hey, we're going to run this route to the goalie box, the soccer over there. Before it was you put your hat down as the cone and you get run to the hat and take a left. One of those kinds of things. But now it's we're really excited about this year because last year didn't go the way we wanted it to. Last year's schedule was very challenging. It hardest it's been since I've been here, and then all of a sudden to have this opportunity to play schools where we're, quite frankly, I think they're equal to, and they're county schools, and it's the teams that they play in middle school and youth sports, and it's just one of those things that our kids are super excited for. So, to be honest with you, March can't come fast enough. We're ready. If we could play a game tomorrow, we'd be ready, and our kids would be jacked for it, and we can't wait for March.
That's awesome.
Tyler, where's Blaine at on your wall of fame there?
Well, top Northwest, of course, right there, big orange star.
The big orange star. Coach
should be the biggest.
Coach, the kind of the last question that we throw out here is, if you could go back and redo one game of your coaching career at Blaine, which game would you pick and why?
One game.
Yep.
Jeez. Well, let's see. One game. That's a tough one.
I think I have one, Coach, but you go ahead.
Okay, you go first.
Okay.
And I'll follow you.
The one that your 2016 team had a lot of talent, a lot of guys that went on and played college, and I think that game against I'm trying to remember who it was. Was it Liberty?
Liberty was the district game down at Liberty.
Yeah, and that game was, I thought you guys had them, and Liberty ended up going and playing in the state championship that game. So that's the first one that pops in my mind. If you could redo that game, that would be the one, but maybe.
Well, yeah, and I'll just kind of piggyback on that game, I guess. We lost 27-24, and we thought that was our toughest opponent. We didn't tell the kids this, but our coaches anyway. If we get by Liberty, we're going to take over the 4 seed, which ended up Cedar Woolley ended up taking that year. We would have went to Pullman, in a team that plays man-to-man defense. I think Jalen would have had a good day that day. Yeah. And then we would have hosted Ellensburg in a tough guy game. They would have ran the ball, and I think it would be a physical game, one-on-one. And then, to be honest with you, we would have played Linden, I think, in the semi at Civic and Thanksgiving, and that was kind of the. We had lost to them by a touch over at Linden for, quite frankly, maybe the league title in that scenario.
Yeah.
And we wanted another shot at that. And who knows, we could have ended up playing in that December game against Murphy. I don't know if it would have went any better. Murphy had everybody's forfeiting against Murphy in that year. But, in that game, in that 27-24 loss at Liberty, we decided to go for it. And we went for it on 4th and 1.5, and instead of kicking a field goal with about 5.5 left in the game, we got the ball at about 21-yard line, and we had a really good field goal kicker. Yeah. It's really good chance he's going to make it and tie it. But we had ran this play, our short yardage play, and we were getting 5-6 yards every time on this short yardage play, and we ended up running this play and we didn't get it. And, I can remember Jalen looking over at me. He's like, "You want to call timeout, check for understanding?" And I was like, "No, let's go for it." And, I wish we would have maybe called out timeout and check for understanding. I just didn't want to give them time to, kind of talk about defending the short yardage run play. But I thought we could sneak it in and obviously go for the win, go for the win on the road. And at that time, too, we had a hard time stopping them at that point in time, too. But that was a big game for us, but they have a great coach, and we became friends ever since that game. He's a great human being that I got to meet that night. But that was a game, and there's a few others. You always second guess yourself. I mean, I'll be honest. The biggest critic of the Blaine football coach is the Blaine football coach. I always kind of. It's even after wins, it's like, what could we have done differently? That was a dumb call. Shouldn't have done that. Wish we would have done this. But that Liberty game was one that, who knows, maybe we kicked a field goal and win in some other fashion. But there's a couple others in there too. But, we've also had a lot of great memories around here too, and we're going to keep making them.
Coach, I do have
one more question.
Oh, go ahead, Ryland.
You got a question?
I had a quick one that just popped in my mind that
Yeah.
a lot of people have asked me about, and I don't really have an answer. Is that you're at your home games? You guys were always on the other sideline, not close to the stands, and I always thought that was interesting. And I didn't really know why. I thought maybe so you can get away from the sound, so you can hear each other better on the sideline when you're coaching, or I never really knew an answer for that. Maybe because you knew a new stadium was coming, or you're going to put the stands on that side. What's your answer for that? I always thought it was really interesting.
Well, I learned it from Tom Moore at Prosser High School.
Yeah.
That's what he did. And I asked him that same question my first year there. And he says, well, Jay, we're over here and the stands are over there and there's no distraction over here.
Right.
And so when the player makes a mistake and you want to coach the player, first off, the player's not coming and looking over your shoulder at his dad or over your shoulder and looking at the cheerleader at his girlfriend, or the trombone's playing, a few yards behind you. So you can talk to him in a normal voice. Where you're on the homestand, you're having to yell. And so that player sometimes like, oh, he's yelling at me. That's his first reaction. I'm not going to take what he's saying as easily as if I can if maybe the coach is talking in a normal voice. Kids tend to, just get information better that way. Yeah. You lose out on a lot of stuff. You lose out on the band. You lose out on, seeing maybe an aunt or a grandma, in the stands. So those things are kind of, I guess, a negative of it. But just learned it from Tom and just kind of, came to Blaine. It's like, hey, we're going to go to the other sideline. Everybody's like, are you antisocial? Are you afraid of moms or dads? Are you yelling at you, run the ball, pass the ball? And really, no, that made complete sense to me of talking to a kid in a normal voice so they can get better quicker. That's all. Yeah.
It's actually kind of funny, Tyler. One of the first times I can remember seeing that, and there's a few teams in the state that do that. Typically, it's at the lower levels, the 2Bs, the 1Bs. But one of the first times I remember seeing a bigger school do that is when I went over to Prosser, and I saw Prosser playing a home game in I think it was a week 10 crossover that they do with the Great Northern League. And it was against West Valley of Spokane. And I remember thinking to myself, it is really strange to not see the home team on the side with the stands. It just is. But that makes a lot of sense. I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
And you can, sometimes, you can fire up your student body to be like, hey, guys, if you get loud, it might interact. You might have some influence on the ball game here, So your student body, let's get in their ear a little bit and let them know you're there. So,
Coach, if I told you Mario Gabato could not play running back, but he could play any other position on the field, what is the best position you could put him in?
Well, it's really simple. You put him at linebacker because we let him do that his senior year. He was awesome. But if you want to stick to offense, he played a little wide receiver, slot receiver in college. And I saw some tape of his senior year, and he was a tenacious blocker. I mean, you should have seen this kid playing the slot. I mean, he'd lock into a linebacker and he'd drive him on a track. He was amazing. But if you're talking high school football, I would actually love to see Mario Gabato play some O-line. I would love to just experiment with him playing some guard. Yeah. He would be so nasty. He would be such a great puller. I mean, he could play any position, quite frankly, you ever wanted him to. But,
well, you remember Tony Gabato was a running back that went to guard his senior year and he was nasty and he was great. So
yeah. But I will say this, I promise you, 2009 we had a decent team, we had a good team, and Mario was a freshman and he was covering kicks like none other. And like I say, when he got injured, our special teams went downhill and it cost us some games late. We lost to who did we lose to? We lost to WF West in the first round down at WF West.
Yeah.
And, they popped a couple of special teams plays that, I look back and there's Mario in his cast and I think, gosh, if he's out there, that might not have happened. Right. They might start at the 45-yard line right now. But he was a very, very impactful player in any position you put him at.
Tyler, something you'll like. Do you know what makes WF West, their stadium, so unique?
What's that?
One of the only places in the state I know where they have reserved seating in the middle of their stands. They only have the stands on the one side of the field, and I don't know if it was I don't know if you noticed this, Coach, but a lot of times, and I don't know if it happened that game, a lot of times on the opposite side of the stands, they have a fence line there, and people will drive their motorhomes up and they'll sit up on top of it. Watch the game. It's a really cool environment down there. But the cool thing about their stadium, Tyler, you'll like this. The middle section has actual seats, like fold down seats, and they're old seats from the Kingdom.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I walked up when I went there for the first time, I walked up and I looked at the seats and I went, these look really familiar. And I took a picture of them and then I kind of walked away and I turned around, I looked and I went, you got to be kidding me. Those are Kingdom seats. They're old King. The only other place in the state I know that has the actual fold down seats is Snohomish High School's baseball stadium has some fold down seats from the Kingdom. And then Tahoma High School, Bill Maxwell Stadium, Tahoma High School has the old blue Kingdom bleachers on their home side.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. The first time I walked down those stairs too, I looked at them and I went, "Oh my goodness, this is like the Southwest Airlines cloud crowd coming back to me over here."
Yeah. We went down to we scout. We didn't play at WF West. We played at Tumwater Stadium.
Okay.
But we scouted a game down at WF West, and you're right. I mean, the people across the street, on the other side of the fence, they were having a good time when we scouted WF West that night. They were having a good time during a high school football game.
Yeah.
So that was funny to see. But I do want to just kind of throw something else out there. Maybe the second stadium you'll ever see with seating with we're going to have it in Blaine High School.
Do you?
Our middle section is season ticket holders. So during COVID, it was great. Me and the AD, we got out there. We have row A and we have seat 1 and seat 2. So we got 98 season tickets to go out with backs. We got a nice little orange back for them. So not quite Kingdom seats, but we got some season tickets coming up here in Blaine High School.
I think Tyler's going to have to get one of them just because. I think it's something
he's got a lifetime sideline pass. He's got whatever
That's even better.
Yeah. I'll take it, Coach.
Unlimited, whatever he needs.
All right, Coach. Tyler, you got nothing else?
Well, I just wanted to do a quick thank you, Coach, because you were one of the first that really embraced me in what I'm doing, and were able to give me access to everything. And one of the big things for what I do is watching Huddle. And you were the first coach that said, hey, I can set you up with this. And then it gave me the confidence to go to another coach and just say, hey, Jay did this for me. Can you do the same? And they said, yeah, I can do the same. And everyone's the same. Just don't, give things away. And I'm like, of course not. I'm doing it for what I do. And you were the first one. And so you gave me a lot of confidence to be able to do what I do. And it's just really cool to get to know you over the years. And I just want to thank you a lot for everything that you allow me to do with my passion. So.
You're welcome. I mean, it's what you do for the kids in our community in Whatcom County. You make it a big deal, and it is a big deal, and it's a big part of their life, and you know it, and I know it, and you magnify it to be a big part of their life. But after saying thank you to me and that, I'm going to ask a favor of you, if you don't mind, since you are a member of the Blaine community. We recently created a Blaine High School Hall of Fame committee. Yeah. And so we had our first committee, we had our first Hall of Fame induction last fall. Right. Well, we're looking for people to maybe be on this Hall of Fame committee.
Yeah.
So I wanted to throw an invite out at you to be a part of our community Hall of Fame committee. Yeah. It's been brought to my attention that you would be a great member to be a part of this. More is not just football, but
sure, yeah.
Just a committee that meets and talks about maybe who should be inducted into the Blaine High School Hall of Fame. So just throwing it out there, and we'd love for you to be a part of that. And I was going to write it on the whiteboard here to make sure that you were a part of it tonight. That was one of my goals here, but we'd love to be a part of our high school Hall of Fame committee. So
yeah, I'd be honored. That'd be great.
Talk to you about it later.
Sure.
That might be the biggest moment in like the Whatcom County football podcast history. Tyler got an invite to be on a Hall of Fame committee. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, natural fit, right? I mean, it's the guy knows more about it than any of us ever will. So, I mean, it's yeah.
I think the second biggest moment in the podcast history would have been having Santa Claus on a few weeks ago when Ron Lepper was on the show.
Well, you did have Santa Claus on the show. It is.
Oh my goodness! You might be the only coach that
isn't Demi in the North Pole anyway. I mean, let's I mean, I don't know. I know you're from there, Tyler. I didn't mean to throw it out to you. You know, but
oh, it's true.
He comes down. I don't know from his reindeer or whatever he is down to high school and coaches the team and goes back up to Mrs. Claus. I don't know, but we'll I don't know.
Tyler was always one of his favorite players because he's such a great worker elf. So
there you go. Yeah.
All right. Well, Tyler, let's wrap it up right there. What do you say?
Sounds great.
All right. He's Tyler Anderson from WhatcomPreps.com. If you want to watch the 2020 virtual season, go to WhatcomPreps.com, upper left-hand corner, 2020 virtual season. You can also follow what he does on the History of Whatcom County High School Football Facebook page. If you want to follow what I do, CascadiaPreps.com. Not nearly as much fun. I'm more about the whole state, not just Whatcom County. This podcast is obviously just Whatcom County. Coach Jay Dodd, thank you for your time.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Thanks for everything you guys do, too, by the way, for high school football.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.